Welcome to another edition of the Sim Racing Garage. I'm Barry Rowland. In this episode, we'll be reviewing the new SF1 racing seat from the guys at SimLab, an F1 racing seat that also doubles as a traditional GT seat by changing the angle of mounting. Out of the box, this seems to be a very well-built unit. Time to put it through the SRG's review process and see how it does. So, let's get to it. Now for a closer look at this SF1 seat from SimLab. First off, this is a single-piece bucket seat, which is really what I prefer for sim racing. Of course, real racing, that's what you want also. And I'm going to turn this around so you guys can see the back here. It's got a really nice finish on it. Not sure what the material is. Usually it's some kind of reinforced type of polymer with fiberglass or glass in it. And yeah, it's very stiff, very stiff. It's just as stiff as my Sparco seat, actually. I tested them out, kind of pulling on the back seat with them both mounted securely. And yeah, very stiff seat. So right out of the box, this kind of tells you this is a good quality shell we got here. Right. And you can see I have the seat brackets on here because this seat will not sit up straight without the seat brackets on it, because it's so much of the seat is here on the back part than on the front. Right. Now let's talk about some measurements here. This seat, according to the manufacturer, is 43 centimeters from side to side. Now, I measured this, and I had to go up to here, where the stitching is on the side, to the stitching over here, to get that 43 centimeters. If you measure it down here, where most manufacturers measure their seats, it's 350 millimeters across here. So I just want to let you guys know that, so that when you're thinking about the seat and the sizing for your body type, then yeah, you'll know what they're talking about when they're talking about that 43 centimeters. Now, this is a wide seat. You know, it's very wide compared to the seat like I would want for myself if I was looking for a bucket seat, because I have like a 32, 33 inch waist. But this is made to accommodate a lot of different people. More people you can fit in your seat, of course, the more seats you're going to be able to sell. So, not a bad move on their part. Now, I'm going to show you the inside here of the seat, the material they're using here. Now, they call this a 3D fabric. And it's basically a mesh. And it's very deep holes in this, kind of a perforation, and it's like a nylon, and it's really nice. I like the way they did this, because perforations are good for circulation of air when you're sitting in it and you're moving around the seat. Yeah, all these little pockets of air here can move and help disperse the seat heat as far as it's building up on your back, over here on your thighs, and then of course in your butt area. So I like that they went with that material. And I'm going to give you a little close-up of that. Oh, I'm going to give you a close-up of that in a minute. I'm going to take it out. Now, we have some red stitching that I mentioned before all around the seat. We got some here, and it kind of flows around the side here. Well, let me turn this around. It's kind of light, so I keep wanting to pick it up. So the stitching flows all the way around the seat. Goes up here on the top. And on the top, you can see that we have the SimLab and the SF1 up here. All of this is embroidered, very nicely done. I don't see any defects anywhere, so they've done a good job. No threads hanging out anywhere I can see. So yeah, I'm kind of satisfied with what I see here at the price point. Now, we also have these guys up here for our shoulder harnesses, and these are really tight with the fabric. You know, the cheaper seats, that's one way to tell a better seat, is the cheaper seats, when they come in, sometimes they'll have a gap in there actually where the fabric is. But this is done really well. The foam and everything is bulging out in the middle here, and this is all sealed in very, very nicely. Just like I said, it gives it a top flight look of the top flight seat that you can buy today. So I really like the way they did that. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little close-up of that fabric. And, of course, this whole thing comes out. If you notice all these little sections here, and of course that's to facilitate the curve that's in the seat. And so it has a nice smooth flow to it, and it doesn't kink up anywhere. And of course, this is Velcroed on like most of these kind of things. And the final Velcro is up here on the bottom here. Let's pull that off. So this will give you a better close-up of what this material looks like under the lights. All right, so you can see it there. It has some really deep perforations in it. I guess that's why they're calling it 3D. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but yeah, it's almost like you can see about 2-3 millimeters before the foam underneath it where these things are. I'm not sure how they're doing that, but that's the way it looks. Unless this is 2 or 3 millimeters thick, this top fiber before the foam. But yeah, really nicely done. The stitching's done well. There's a little sample of the stitching. So yeah, you know, if the price point this seat's coming in at, I think it's showing why it costs what it does. All right, so I also want to show you underneath here. Let me put this aside. That they could have just put just a flat piece of whatever fabric in here, right? But they didn't do that. They actually put this nice quilted fabric pattern in here. And it's actually kind of soft. It's got a little sponge to it on the little squares here. And this reminds me of the inserts of the seats. I used to have an Audi S7, and that's kind of the inserts in the seats. So yeah, it's almost like it's nice enough to use this without the other cushioning. So anyway, again, this kind of lends itself to the price point and what you would expect to see in a seat that costs this kind of money. Right. What else can we talk about here? Let's talk about the seat brackets. Oh, by the way, the weight of this, while we're talking about seat brackets, this thing comes in at, without the seat brackets, 14 pounds, 10 ounces, or 6.6 kilograms. Now, with the seat brackets on it, comes in at 17 pounds and 10 ounces. I'll get it out. And also, that comes out to 8 kilograms. So keep that in mind as far as weight. It's pretty lightweight when you consider this is a wide seat. So it's a big seat. It takes up a lot of real estate. And yeah, for the size of it, I think it's a comparable weight to any of the other racing seats I've had. All right, so let's talk about these brackets. These are aluminum. They're about almost 5 mil thick, and they have, make sure you get a pitch shot of that. And they have this crinkle finish on them. I'm not sure if that's anodization or paint, but it might be some kind of anodization, but it has kind of a crinkle finish on it. Now this does come with its own M8 bolts on both sides, and this is a standard industry type of pattern for the bolts in the front up here and the one back here. Slide this back a little, get more light on it. All right, now if you notice, there are 3 holes in the back here, and I have the bolt in the top hole. I have the bolt in the top slot on the front of this bracket. At least this is the way the brackets were oriented when I went to their website and looked at it, so that's why I left it that way. And you can see there is a heck of a rake going on here. It's really leaned pretty far back, but we're only in the first hole here, the highest hole. Now, if I turn it this way, the reason I left it there, I could probably go 1 hole lower, and because of where I'm mounting this. I'm mounting this in a P1X rig. But look at I can't even get my fingers. You can see some daylight under there, but under this part in the center, I can't get my fingers under it, which means it's very, very tight as far as if you have something solid underneath your seat, you won't be able to get it any lower than this. However, if you have a profile type cockpit with bars coming out, you know, like a 40 series profile, and you're mounting this to it and it's hollow in the side like a P1X, right? Then you might be able to get this to come lower. 1 more hole. And the reason I say 1 more hole is we're still got a little bit of a limit here as far as the way this bottom is shaped across here, right? It has a bulge right here. So I think we could go 1 more hole without hitting this seat bracket, the edge of this flange that comes out. And if you go any lower than that, it's probably going to hit. I didn't really try it because I didn't want to scratch anything up. But yeah, it can get a little bit further back as far as leaning if you have the right setup for it. All right, but right now it's pretty far back as far as the leaning angle. And I didn't drive it at this angle, but I wanted to show you guys what it's capable of. And also, I had it mounted that way. I got a picture here I'm showing you that shows the GT position, which I used to drive it in. And then I'm going to show you the F1 position that I had it in. You can see the big difference in how far this seat goes back. So I think mission accomplished here as far as what SimLab was trying to do, to get you really laid back, and so you have more of an F1 type seating position if that is what you're after. All right, anything else we want to talk about here? I guess that's about it. You know, overall quality of this seat out of the box really feels good. You know, this is not a cheap seat. We're talking like over $500 for this seat. And, you know, of course, it's a lot less than like a Sparco. Those things are like $800, $700, $800 for a decent Sparco seat these days. But yeah, it's built to that kind of standard though, because everything is so tight. The way everything's built here, it's just, like I said, once you have it out of the box and in hand, you know right away that it's got a good finish on it. And they had a couple of other versions of this seat and seat inserts, and they actually ended up with this one here. I had one of the earlier ones that, let's see which way is up. Okay, this way is up. That back here in this part of it, instead of a little one right here, it was like one big one, like the same size of this one on here. And when it was down in the crease, it actually caused it to wrinkle. So they went back and divided it up into two more. So now it flows very nicely, as you saw before when it was in the seat. That, yeah, it flows really nice now. And yeah, I like the way that they did this. And it's easy to take this in and out in case you want to, I don't know, change it, you want to wash it. It's really easy to, oh, I told you this thing's tippy. Just, you start with the front up here and just line it up to the top. And once you have that done, it's just a matter of kind of lifting it in and laying it down with your hand. Of course, let me show you guys this over the side view so you can actually see what I'm doing, which is still hard because it's a deep bucket in here. And I'm just kind of pressing it down and walking it down as it goes around there. So easy to take this thing on and off. Yeah, couldn't be easier, I don't think. Overall, yeah, I like what I see here. And again, if you're looking for an F1 type seat, yeah, you know, this is definitely something you want to consider. What we're going to do now is obviously get in it and do some driving, and I'll make some comments on, you know, when I'm driving the seat. I did put this on a seat mover, which actually helped me test the stiffness of it even more than just, you know, sitting on the rig and just driving like I normally would. And I can tell you already that this is a very stiff seat. And yeah, it lends itself well to any kind of motion thing, because anytime you get involved with motion, the seat needs to be stiff because it helps translate that motion, or you maximize it, if you will, that motion, the inner ear cues that we're getting from our motion systems. Being a nice stiff bucket helps translate that much clearer than if you have something that's flexing all the time, or if you have a seat that has the adjustable back to it with those dials or the handles you pull up and the seat goes back and forth as far as the back of the seat. Yeah, they always have some flex in it, which are not optimal, obviously, to maximize what you get out of, say, a motion system, or even a transducer system if you want to run something like that on your rig, or you are running something like that. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and put this thing on and start driving. So here we are at the Nürburgring, and we are in the Ferrari 488 GT3, and we are in iRacing. So, as you can see, I'm in a GT seating position here, and this is how I use the seat. Now, I did test fit it out in the F1 position, as you can see from this shot here. And yes, it will definitely go far enough back to get you in what I would think would be a proper F1 seating position. But I didn't drive it that way because it would have required me to really modify just about everything on my P1X that I used here for this. So yeah, I just went ahead and drove it in the GT position. And the important thing here is that yes, it achieves what the manufacturer says it achieves. And that is that seating position range. And driving it in the GT position just let me know that, yeah, this thing is a two-trick pony, and it'll go either way, and in between, whatever you want. So that's because of the way this whole shell is shaped here. And speaking of the shell itself, I was very impressed by the stiffness of the shell and the quality of the shell as far as finish and fitment and everything that went around with this seat in general, right out of the box. And it was just as stiff as my Sparco Evo seat that I use all the time in my preferred seat because it fits me like a glove. Now, this is a wide seat, and you will see me moving around a little bit in here as the seat mover moves it. And this is also a good example, by the way, because I have this mounted to a motion platform. And this also demonstrates the stiffness or lack of stiffness that a seat is capable of. And here I found it to be very stiff, just like if I was running, again, my Sparco seat. So they, again, achieved what they set out to do here, as far as getting a professional quality seat that can be raked way back to F1 or put up into a GT position. And, you know, the materials are great. The perforations keep you cool in the material as far as the padding goes. The stitching, the red and white stitching looks good, and I couldn't find any defects anywhere in it. It's just an all-around great seat, and, you know, I enjoyed using it beside the fact that it just didn't fit me like a glove. So we'll just go ahead and get to the final thoughts. Final thoughts on the SF1 racing seat from the guys at SimLab. This is a seat that is aimed at a person who wants to achieve a proper F1 seating position in their cockpit. At the same time, it's able to be configured for a more traditional GT driving position. This seat is a bucket-styled unit. I found the shell to be of a very good build quality and just as stiff as my Sparco seat. At 43 centimeters wide, it is a large seat. It should be able to accommodate a good range of body types. If you're looking for a seat that fits you tightly, then the SF1 probably is not your seat, unless your body is large enough to fill it completely. The sides of the seat are not high enough or steep enough to provide that type of fit for smaller people. The materials used on the seat are very good, with breathing holes that allow for good air circulation. This will keep you cooler on longer stints. All the stitching and embroidery are very well done here, with no defects that I could find. When I was using the seat, I could not find much to complain about, other than I personally prefer a tight-fitting seat, and this one is way too wide to achieve this with my smaller body type. There are details in this seat that you don't find in cheaper seats, like the diamond stitch cloth liner that is hiding under the main padding panel. It's details like this that tend to justify the price tag of this seat. The seat brackets that I receive with this seat are not included. They are available for purchase from SimLab, or you can just use your own brackets, as the SF1 bolt pattern is the industry standard size of 290 millimeters center to center. At around $560 plus shipping, this is not an inexpensive seat. But if you're looking for a feature set that the SF1 brings to the table, it might be just what you are looking for. I'm Barry Rowland. Thanks again for watching the Sim Racing Garage channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to help support what I do here at the SRG, visit my website at simracinggarage.com.